Okay, Councillor Harvey, or Councillor Harris, I should say, you may go ahead.
Great, thank you, Tammy. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our meeting. This is an exciting one. I'm looking forward to hearing what updates we have. And at this time, of course, I will pass it over to Chief Greenwood.
Thank you very much, everybody. And I'm just looking at the makeup of the people that are in the meeting and just wanted to confirm, Tammy, with the number of people that we have, I'm assuming we do not have quorum.
Well, there's two of you there, right? So.
Well, there's, no, I'm just looking, we have Mr. Ferguson from the Barrie Police Services Board.
Brian.
We have Mia. How many do we need to have quorum to pass this?
I believe it was it 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, you got it. You have enough.
Okay, wonderful. That is great. Thank you very much. So Tammy has provided to the group the final version that doesn't have the formatting and visuals at all that Val and Alex have been working on, and myself connecting to the leads for all of the different action items that are in the community safety report. And I'm going to pass it on to Alex. There haven't all of the background work and the questions and fine tuning and addressing things have been done for those individuals that have been identified as the lead or the co-lead. So last time we were all together, we talked about the status of some of the action items in regards to, we had some yellows. We had a good number of greens, but those yellows have now been transferred to a green status. So we're very healthy in regards to this. So I'm going to pass it on to Alex just to provide an overview. And I think it's page 3 is the list of the action items. And if we go through each of them, and if we need to refer to the full written verbal report, we can do that with this group.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Dawn.
My apologies. I just wanted to note that I think, Tammy, you're counting either Corey or I, and neither one of us is a member,
2,
so
3,
you don't actually
4,
have
5.
quorum.
That's
I just, if 7's the number, and I don't have that right in front of me, but
Let me
I
just
thought
confirm
before
that.
we got too far along, I should point that out.
Just bear with me. I will confirm that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 11 members, and there's how many here? 2, 3.
No, 6.
So it's 6.
If it's 11 members and 6 is quorum, it was the 7 that was
6, yes.
throwing things off.
My apologies.
Okay, so we're fine to proceed?
Yes.
Wonderful, thank you very much. So I'm going to pass it on to Alex. If you could please share your screen and go over the action items. And if members that are present for this meeting, they can ask Alex to go to the specific verbiage if they have any concerns on each of the items.
Yeah. Thank you, Chief. Folks should see in front of them 2 pages, page 7 and 8 of the report. It's the part of the executive summary. It summarizes the 15 actions. It has the leads identified in the language, as well as the action item itself. I don't have a great deal of updates to provide along these lines, other than everybody is, confirmed and thumbs up listed here in terms of double checking. The one edit that's occurred when I'm looking over this is number 13. I flagged that number 13, which is regarding advancing actions related to homelessness. now reads slightly differently than what's written up here, but the basic intention of it is the same. So I'm going to speak that to you based on conversations with the county, and I'll speak it slowly so people can hear it. So number 13 now reads, the County of Simcoe will continue to collaborate with the City of Barrie and local stakeholders in efforts to reduce and ultimately end homelessness in Barrie and surrounding areas. The content within the action item specifically, I can track down and bring up in front of you if that's of interest, basically describes the processes that currently exist for conversations about homelessness and homelessness action that are organized through the county, and how there's a recommitment through this plan to use those mechanisms to improve action within Barrie on homelessness. Beyond that, all the other action items listed here that I'm sharing with you are as is and approved by the leads. That's the only one that I wanted to flag at the moment with everybody. In terms of next steps, if approval from the committee is received today, we'll be taking this to a copy editor to do a good, thorough double check, grammar and spelling and things like that. We're working with a designer to make this really visually appealing and easy to scan, and making sure that there's a short summary type pamphlet at the top end that covers the executive summary that can be kind of taken off and used to help explain the community safety and wellbeing plan. I'm happy to talk more about design direction if that's of interest. And beyond that, that's the plan in terms of bringing this from the current version to a final version that can be brought before council. I'm happy to answer any questions about any of these items, provide updates if that's of interest.
That's great. Thank you, Alex.
I do have a comment. I noticed on the full document that you shared with us earlier last week, I did notice that the health unit is not identified as one of the working group partners. We're missing from that first. I think it's on page 1 of the full document.
Okay, I've got you. So now I've got you guys.
We're listed in the second. There's a second
9.
list.
Yeah.
Yes, but on page 1, where you where it identifies the working group, we're not identified there.
Okay.
That list, yeah, we're not on there.
Sure. I'll this cover letter is primarily for your benefit as an advisory committee.
Oh,
and we'll be removing it once we have approval from the advisory committee. So this first 2 pages comes off, and that title page becomes your first page. I'm happy to make that change, but those documents, those first 2 pages will be removed.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mia.
Thanks for clarifying.
That's great. Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? I can't see people raising hands right now, sorry, but if you just want to maybe jump in and share your questions or concerns right now with Alex. I'll wait till the end. I do have a couple.
Would it help to unshare Councillor Harris so we can see everybody and they can?
Sure. Yeah.
And then if we need to go.
And then we can switch back in. Yeah,
Sure.
that would be great. Perfect. Great. Thank you. Any questions, anyone? Okay, I'll go with my questions. I don't see any. So I would like to maybe delve in a little bit to the design direction that you do have. I mean, I know that that's the main portion is what we have in front of us. And so if you can go into that a little bit, Alex, I'm not even sure what level that you have available, but what kind of things are you going to, what the final product, what will it really look like? Will it be, I think we talked a little bit about images and possibly a visual report card and those types of things and graphics.
Certainly, yeah. I think we've got the, the general sense of how pages will lay out in the report, but we're working with a professional designer who's going to advise us on how best to bring this document to life. So they're going to come up with, or they're working on coming up with an identity for the document that aligns with the City of Barrie's own visual identity, but also provides an added spin, I guess, for this particular document. We're looking for it to be lively. We're looking for it to be animated. We're looking for it to be easy to read and review. We want the emphasis to be placed on the actions and for it really to be really easy for people to understand where to go in the document to get that quick summary and a sense of what's going on with the action plan. In terms of the design of a report card, where we list out progress against each of those items, we hadn't considered that as part of the report design because we won't have any progress to be able to report on. But we can think about whether that can be easily added to the work that our designer is doing so that we have a template that's ready to be updated when outcomes can be reported against each of the action items.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I just wanted to refer to either Tammy or Dawn. Do we need a motion to accept the plan first? Dawn's smiling. Yes.
Thank you, Chair Harris. I guess one of the questions I would have is, was the intent to walk through each of the action items? Certainly there may be some items that people raise. I would just note from my personal observation, and not a member of the committee, so I just want to make that clear. My personal view of some of the wording is it places a significant amount of responsibility on the city for items that are provincial mandate. And there's recent correspondence from the Association of Municipalities of Ontario expressing concern about the province downloading responsibilities through these plans. So it's more just the tone of some of the wording. There are a number of places that I noted that that we reference that the primary responsibility is with federal and or provincial governments, but there are a number of areas where the city or municipal level of government would be expanding its or implied expansion of its role. So that would be one comment, but I didn't know if you wanted to go action by action or perhaps the committee members are comfortable with the plan in its entirety, but you do have a 76-page document and you've reviewed the items that are the action plans. I would also note that the legislation requires you to have measurable outcomes, and there are a number of great outcomes that are identified. Whether or not they're measurable, I think will be something the committee needs to address. And I think you touched on that in an email to the committee.
Oh, thank you. I guess
you can talk about the design, but while it's on the floor, but I think it would be up to the committee if it feels that it's had sufficient discussion on the actual content of the plan before you vote on that.
I guess maybe I used the wrong wording. I should have said to receive the plan and then discuss it. We don't need a motion to receive it or anything?
You can, that's the item that's on the agenda, so you can certainly discuss it before you put, you vote on, or you'll have to put a motion on to vote on, but you can start the discussion on it.
Great. Well, I think that, thank you for those points for sure. I think it is worth going through each plan, each action item to see if individuals have suggestions further, and then to maybe even zoom in on the wording that you're referring to that you're concerned about, or you mentioned on. And I just wanted to give a quick update that I have really poor reception. So things are kind of jumping and skipping. So if I'm frozen or whatever, Tammy, Dawn, feel free to speak if I'm frozen, obviously. So let's just, I think we should do that. If you can maybe pull up, where's Alex? Alex, and then, or even Chief Greenwood, in whatever direction you would like to go, and we can speak to each one briefly or whatever, so we can get to hopefully the acceptance part. Right, so.
Okay, Alex, you've pulled up the document again, and I will say there has been lengthy discussions with each of the action items and the rationale for each of the areas, and who the leads are, and the anticipated steps, and what the role of each of the highlighted leads or co-leads are identified here. So if there is a need, we can go through each actions item. That's great. And if there's any concerns raised by specific organizations, that would be helpful. The organizations that are not represented here have approved the concept. So for example, the county was satisfied with how they were identified, and CMHA were satisfied how they were identified. Just as an example, when we talk about the report cards or the matrices and an evaluation process, my recommendation to the group would be that each of the action leads would be responsible for identifying the key matrices involved in this. We have had contact with the province in regards to the matrices. There will not be a standardized plan that will come, or measurements that will come from the ministry at this point. That may change in the future, but at this point, the reporting structure from the province to each of the municipalities has not been formalized as of yet. So Alex, if you take us to, are there any questions in regards to my comments there?
Actually, just to the group, I was wondering just what might help speed this up too. Like, I mean, I would hope that all of us have obviously read through it, and I personally didn't have any concerns myself, but plus two, we don't have all the organizations represented. So I don't know what others think, but I was wondering if maybe instead of going page by page through this document, if we could maybe go through some of the concerns that that Dawn McAlpine has identified to see how we can change the wording to assist that. And then if anyone else around the table has any concerns, that just might help expedite things instead of having to go page by page through the entire document.
Yeah, no, for sure. Thanks, Carrie. Yeah, I was thinking maybe we could absolutely go through that. Not going page by page, but just looking more at the points and going through whether or not we need to talk about that point in more detail. But I like your suggestion. I think that's great. Maybe we could ask Dawn or whomever to bring us to those examples if possible, and we can discuss that. Dawn, do you have something that is on a page that you could reference right away that we zoom into?
So page 21, at least on the last version that was circulated, and I'm not clear what's been circulated. I completely recognize that there have been conversations with individual organizations, but I'm not sure that they've seen the entire draft plan at this point. And if I was the county, under the homelessness one, it carries over onto page 21. The sentence that starts, while the conversion of motels into temporary accommodations along with other new initiatives have created additional capacity, demand continues to outstrip supply. the county might not feel that that's an accurate representation during COVID as they've continued to offer to fund. I don't think it's the supply that they're willing to provide. It's whether or not individuals are willing or permitted to access the shelter that they've provided funds for. So if that reference is specific to COVID, I think they might take offense at that, since they continue to offer to fund space and outreach services.
Dawn, it's Kimberly. We have been in direct contact with Greg Bishop, and he has reviewed these documents, and he's provided recommendations back to us as the group that has been finalizing this document, and he has approved what we have placed in here.
Okay, as long as that's occurred, my understanding was that in the individual action that involved the county had been discussed with him, not necessarily the other content of the plan.
We will confirm that just to the areas that you have identified on this page. We will confirm, but that was my understanding, but I will confirm that. Thank you.
Great. Dawn, do you have any other examples that you would like to pull
Yeah,
up?
so a couple of things. And they may not be, again, I'm not a committee member, and they may not be concerns for the committee. And this is a city of, this is the community's well-being plan, safety and well-being plan. The one thing that I felt is a overriding sort of reference, it makes there, and I'll use page 23 as an example, fragmented services. Residents of Barrie who are in need of community services often require more than a single support. I don't believe that's specific to Barrie. There are a number of other cases where the plan references, not unlike other municipalities or other communities. Those are things that it just, if you are reading this as a standalone document, it appears that these, in some areas, that these are issues that only Barrie is facing. So that's one wording. The lack of funding, the funding issue section there doesn't reference the responsibility for the province for funding for most of these services. It references significant funding cuts, but not their responsibility.
I'll let Chief Greenwood jump in and maybe respond to those 2 points if you'd like.
Dawn, is it possible to provide us some specific wording in that area that you would be comfortable with?
Sure, yeah.
That would be helpful, and we do recognize that there are, you know, the county has some responsibility, the province has some responsibility on specific issues here. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Maybe, Dawn, do you have any more? I still think it's pertinent maybe to bring it up to the entire group if you have any specific examples, and then afterwards you can bring the recommendations forward. That would be great.
One specific one, and I think this is probably on page 34, and I think this is probably out of the health accord, but under rationale, just about where you're just past your cursor there, Alex, these 5 organizations have budgets that collectively amount to 1.2 billion. If I was reading that, I would assume that that's 1.2 billion in budgets that are solely for these services, as opposed to delivering other services. And again, health is, health is delivered, is supposed to be delivered at other levels. So I just think it implies that there's 1.2 billion in the local communities for addressing the fragmented services. So
Dawn, this was the information that Andrea provided to us. So it hasn't been vetted by us. It was through the mayor's office and Andrea that we were provided this information.
and I'll be frank, more of this is just looking at it in terms of how this might be perceived by the community. So again, not a committee member, and if the committee is okay with the wording, yeah, I just think that the wording is maybe not, those 5 organizations collectively have budgets of 1.2 billion, but they're not for those services exclusively.
Okay, so maybe we could expand on that piece, Alex, if you could, please. I think that is very well taken.
Yeah,
And that was,
Don, I really appreciate the close read that you've given to this, and there are likely some occasions where a sentence or two doesn't quite capture the full picture, and there's some valuable emphasis to be placed in terms of responsibilities that you're bringing to the table. And I think it would be reasonable if you went through these with the committee and they gave you the thumbs up to send me some copy edits, because none of them will change substantively the actions that are in front of the committee for approval, it seems. They more nuance the rationale, which I think is valuable to make sure that we're getting that effectively worded. But I'm happy to integrate that if the committee would provide us with the ability to do that. And we can keep running through
maybe
these. They're very helpful.
Yeah, maybe we could still run through them so we all know what we're agreeing to possibly changing. But then I don't know, Dawn, do you recommend if we accept the plan with a minor, I don't know, amendment shouldn't be the right word, but just an agreement that a final draft will come with your suggestions, and then we can just put the green light on that, but we would still accept it today? Is that something that would be permissible?
Certainly it's permissible, and it may be that someone puts forward a motion that the plans accepted in with minor revisions to capture the intent of the conversation at the meeting held on January 14th or whatever day I'm on today.
14th. That's great. Yeah, I like that wording, Dawn. That worked really well. Perfect. Are there any other points that you wanted to bring to the whole committee, Dawn?
Again, it was just the nuance on where the city's role was versus provincial and or federal levels, and those were the ones that I sort of I flagged them, or they were flags for me as I went through.
Okay, great. Well, if you're comfortable after, and we can even have all of your points kind of highlighted and it'll be sent out to the rest of the committee, then we can move on to the next stage. Are you good with that? You good?
I am. It's really the committee.
Okay, I just didn't know if you had any other points that you really wanted to highlight. That's all. Your points are valuable, even though you're not part of the committee, Dawn, for sure. Okay, great. So again, this is hard to not see anyone, and I only have my laptop, but are there any other points of interest that people have seen as they read through that they want to bring forward before we accept it or try to accept it? I'm thinking we'll accept it. Gary, no? Anyone? That's great. Well, that's exciting. Gary, I see your hand is maybe pushing. Yeah, okay.
I just unmuted myself. Yeah, if we're in a position that we can put a motion on the floor, I'm more than willing to put one on the floor. Obviously, subject to some minor variations in the sentence structure. But did we want to go forward with that now then, or?
Great. I think I gathered what you said. Again, I'm so sorry. My reception's not good here. So that would be wonderful. Maybe we can use most of the wording that Dawn just said as our motion moving forward, that we would accept the entire document with some minor edits coming forward with discussions that had happened with the committee today on the 14th. So does that sound good, Dawn? Perfect. Okay, so I will take a vote on who is in favor of the motion.
Natalie, can I just interrupt for one moment? I see Mr. Ferguson's hand is up.
Oh, I didn't see. I'm so sorry.
Thanks,
Go
Chief.
ahead.
Thanks, Councillor Harris. Yeah, I would second that motion and carry on. I do have a question with respect to process, and that obviously, if this carries on, we're going to move to a quote, a finalized pretty product. Are we going to see that before council or our respective organizations, or is it going to be finalized and go straight to council?
That's a great question. Dawn or Chief Greenwood, do you?
From a
I
process,
don't know what the
from a process perspective in regards to the document and getting final approval by the working group, obviously it has to do that. One of the items that I was going to bring forward was, do we need to establish a smaller group from the committee of definitely Alex and Val would be part of the group, but identifying 2 or 3 other people that would take the time to review the final product that has gone through the editing and the formatting and the visuals for the group to provide a final review. Then that would go to Chief Mainprice, as he is responsible for putting together the staff report that will eventually go to council. Does that sound reasonable, Chief Mainprice?
Yeah, I mean, certainly it's the committee's desire. If they want to create a subcommittee to review the finalized document, that's up to the committee. I guess I would just suggest, maybe from a process standpoint, and it doesn't necessarily have to go directly to council. There was some discussion that it could go to corporate and community services as well, and they would push the finalized document to council from there. So I think the committee has the latitude to decide which way they want to go. And from a process standpoint, maybe Tammy or Dawn want to confirm whether it should go directly to council or to a member of the committee first. But certainly, if it's the committee's wish, if there's a subcommittee or not, to review the we'll call it the pretty or the finalized document with the graphics and the final design.
Okay, Dawn or Tammy, do you have any suggestions?
Yes, so the recommendation from this committee flows through to Finance and Corporate Services Committee. So that recommendation would typically, could be, doesn't have to be, that the plan, once the plan as attached to the minutes is approved, that goes up to Finance and Corporate Services, then General Committee, then Council. It can be a separate staff report that goes along with it. We'd be quite happy to look after that between Chief Mainprice and Legend Court team. Or you can, I think, to get to the prettier version, you probably want to wait and have the staff report to bring it forward. But what you could have is that a staff report be prepared with the final version to be presented to General Committee at that point. But your initial recommendation to adopt to approve the plan goes through Finance and Corporate first.
Okay, Chief Greenwood, does that sound like a good step for you? Like, we can go through those channels and then have the final version approved through that channel?
That sounds reasonable, and I want to ensure that we're complying with the processes that are already in place. We don't need to develop something that isn't consistent. So that works out great. Thank you.
Okay, great. So just thank you for your question too, Mr. Ferguson. Do we have any other questions before we go through with the motion again? Okay, so the motion that we have on the table, Dawn, could you say the wording again? That would be great.
Sure. It's that city staff work with to produce a final document to be presented to general committee and council. I don't think we want to use
All
pretty
right, so-
in the wording, but to produce the final the publication version to be presented to general committee and council.
Great. Okay, so if I have a show of hands from the committee, who is in favor? Looks like we're all unanimous. Great, so that passes. Thank you so much. Any other questions that need to come forward before we close out this meeting? I just want to, of course, say thank you so much to Val and Chief Greenwood, Chief Mainprize, Alex, everyone who's just played such an amazing role, Dawn, everybody in creating this document. I'm so excited to present it to General Committee and Council. I think it's exciting. I think it's something that I know I've always looked to hopefully have with the city, and the collaboration that went into this is just amazing, and it's a great document in my opinion. So any other questions or things that you want to bring forward, Chief Greenwood, anyone? Mia, I see you unmuted.
I have a
yourself there.
question.
Go ahead.
Yes. So when will this be going to general committee? Sorry, I didn't catch that.
So my understanding is that the committee appears supportive of having a smaller group finalize the publication ready version of things and the proofing of that. Once that's complete, then a report would come forward at that time. So I don't know how long it will take to get the designed version of it with the images complete. But as soon as that's done and then it's been proofed, then a report would be prepared essentially on behalf of the committee. It's not really, it comes from staff because, but on behalf of the committee, indicating that this is the plan that the committee has approved, and for its approval by general committee and then council.
Thank you.
Wonderful. That's
And I'm
great.
pleased, I would offer to assist on the subgroup if you wanted a set of eyes.
Great, thanks very much for that, Dawn. I just wanted to comment on one of your questions. We anticipate it'll take between 4 and 6 weeks to get the design complete, and then we would look to the subcommittee. So thank you very much for volunteering, and I'm going to suggest that Alex and Val and myself be part of that, but it would be nice if we had someone else from the committee to volunteer to look at that also.
I'll volunteer as well,
Great. Thank you very much.
if I'm allowed to, as the chair, I guess so.
No, that's
Sorry, it
good.
was frozen.
Thank you.
Okay, wonderful.
Yep. It would actually
Great.
probably be a good idea
Excellent.
as the
Okay.
chair, Nat. Just for time frame,
What's that?
I guess just to get, just for time frame, because I know Mia was asking about time frame. Like, we just had finance and corporate services this week, so we'd probably be about 2 months before it would get to finance and corporate services. And then once it goes through there, then it would go to general committee at the next GC after that. So it, obviously it's going to take a little bit to get this thing together, but just to give her a rough idea, it's probably going to be about two months or just shortly, a little bit longer than that before it actually gets to general committee and council.
That's a good point. Thanks, Councillor Harvey. Well, that's wonderful. And I thank you for all of your patience with me being a chair for the very first time in any committee. That's a new world for me. Dawn, thank you for your guidance. Tammy, everyone, I really appreciate that for what it's worth. And Chief Greenwood. And if we don't have any other questions, I guess we can, if something comes to our mind, email afterwards. But I think this was a successful meeting. Thank you for everyone that joined. And we'll adjourn the meeting if there's nothing else final that you'd like to say, Chief Greenwood. Sorry, it's frozen. I'm so sorry. My reception is not good. I'm going to just say, okay, go ahead. I can hear you now.
Thank you very much, everybody that contributed to the plan. I know it was a lot of revisions and meeting again and again, which I think that's the process that's required to get a product that is going to be able to survive through multiple years. And I would say that the timing for the committee works out very well. So what we will do is we will go through Tammy once we have the subcommittee finalize the design, and then we will send it out to the committee, provide a week to 2 weeks for review, and then we would have to once again come back together just to finalize the process so staff could move forward. Okay, so thank you very much, everybody. Be safe, be healthy.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Have a great day.